Chapter 1376. Absolutely won't give up. Becoming an offering does not mean death, but a chance for new life. Su Ming, you might have given up on this chance, but it will be difficult for you to escape reincarnation. I will wait for you in the cycle. This is just the beginning of our fight. It hasn't ended yet. I, Old Man Extermination, will definitely take my revenge. At the instant it was absorbed by the finger, Old Man Extermination's nascent divinity looked towards Su Ming, showing deeply etched hatred and madness. As it laughed ferociously, its words echoed in space, and when it was completely absorbed by the finger disappeared. The entire fourth expanse cosmos crumbled. It shattered while rumbling, making it look like everything was about to be destroyed in the blink of an eye. Su Ming was silent. He watched the destruction around him before turning into a long arc that charged towards the gap leading to the vast expanse. Then, in an instant, he rushed out of his homeland. While in the vast universe, for the first time ever, Su Ming saw the huge feng shui compass. It was so big that its end could not be seen. Su Ming also saw the withered harmonious Morus Alba under the feng shui compass being continuously absorbed. Its four wings were overlapping with each other while being burned by invisible flames that slowly turned them to ash. Vaguely, Su Ming thought he could see Arid Triad and hear his murmurs. Tree, this time. I'll come accompany you. Arid Triad vanished, and even the four great true worlds, divine essence star ocean, and everything else was reduced to nothingness before Su Ming's eyes. The past had become something distant, untouchable. Dark Mountain, Ninth Summit, the Berserkers, Morning Dao, everything was like fleeting smoke. They gradually faded away, slowly turning into mere memories that would support him so that he could continue onward while alone in the vast universe. Loneliness seemed to have never left Su Ming. Most of his life after he left Dark Mountain had been like that. It was like a pot of old wine. When he drank with the moon, he could only perform a toast to his shadow. The winds of time swept up the flowing sand of memories, and it no longer filled a world where he sat in the middle of the night while meditating. The figures in his memories seemed to be near him, whispering words of a beautiful past. Right then, however, they sounded desolate when he heard them while watching the harmonious Morus Alba being destroyed. He once wondered whether the glorious past which he lived for thousands of years and which he would see when he turned his head back would exist for tens of thousands of years to become a ballad for the members of the latter generation. But as he watched harmonious Morus Alba gradually wither, he understood that there would be no continuation. The song from yesterday could no longer resonate with tomorrow. The murmurs recollecting the past could no longer find any notes from a zither to act as an accompaniment. Watching the universe's rise and fall was a luxurious desire of other people. It might seem beautiful, but those who experienced it would know that the destruction contained a mournful cry that no one else would understand. Tears trickled down the corners of Su Ming's eyes. He was the only one left in the world, and no one could see the tears falling down his face, much less ask him about them. The only things left were the harmonious Morus Alba, who was slowly withering to become wisps of aura, as well as a lone figure which seemed to be at the verge of death. It had dull and lifeless eyes. That figure was filled with desolation. Harmonious Morus Alba disappeared without a single sound. There was no astonishing rumble, no shrill and forlorn cry that would stun the people. There was only death that left behind no traces, as if someone had just woken up from a dream. Su Ming was silent. He still had many things he had not done. The remnant of the old man from Heavenly Spirit tribe still remained in his storage bag, as well as the other Yu Xian's sleeping body. At that moment, they became his most precious memories, but thank the heavens that he still had the bald crane with him. It had appeared beside him at some unknown point in time to keep him company. They watched harmonious Morus Alba's destruction together. They continued staring until a cold and dark voice came from the feng shui compass. 7th. Reversed Spirit. At the instant this voice echoed in space, a loud rumble shot out from the feng shui compass before it began rotating. It did not spin quickly, but it did manage to form an astonishing whirlwind that swept through the universe around them. Then, for the first time, the black-robed young man sitting on the feng shui compass truly appeared before Su Ming's eyes. He was dressed in a black robe, and his body was so huge that it was difficult to imagine. His dull and lifeless eyes seemed to contain a merciless, aloof look at first glance, but in truth, it was only due to a thick aura of death surrounding him. His cold and dark face seemed to not have changed since an eternity ago, and right then, he was looking at Su Ming. Xianxia did not have sight, but at that moment, Su Ming could clearly sense him staring at him. More accurately speaking, Xianxia was not staring at Su Ming, but at the bald crane beside him. The bald crane shuddered. When it lifted its head, it stared at Xianxia, and a powerful feeling that it was staring at its mortal enemy rose in its heart. It was also during that instant that Su Ming saw the string of pearls in Xianxia's right hand. He had his fingers pinched around one of them, and it was shining with a dark light. Within it, Su Ming saw the shadow of a crane. That shadow belonged to the bald crane. At the instant Su Ming saw the pearl clearly, his eyes shrank, and Xianxia slowly lifted his right hand. Then, with the pearl between his fingers, he slowly extended his hand towards Su Ming as if he was about to seize space. With it, a circular area of tens of thousands of lees around Su Ming instantly roared at a volume that could shake the sky. The universe seemed about to crumble and tumble backwards. A powerful gust of wind that made Su Ming's robes and hair flutter instantly appeared, and soon after, Su Ming saw the world before him turn into a huge palm. With a momentum that could throw the entire universe into chaos, it came charging towards him. The bald crane shuddered, and Su Ming's eyes turned bloodshot. He swung his arm and immediately swept up the bald crane to put it back into his storage bag. Then, he turned into a long arc that swiftly moved back. But no matter how fast he was, it was impossible for him to outrun the palm that could practically replace the entire region of the universe. It instantly closed in on him, and when it stretched out, it went to grab him. Su Ming threw his head back and growled. He brought his hands and formed a seal. His Tao divinity immediately appeared to cover his body, but the method that could previously make Xianxia's finger stop in its tracks was not effective anymore. Xianxia's right hand closed in on him. Su Ming's pupils shrank. The presence of his Tao divinity did not go away, but once it gathered around him, he brought his right hand up. At the instant he clenched his fists, his body grew. He used the god of Berserker's transformation. In the span of a breath, Su Ming grew to nearly 1,000 feet tall. With all his power, he sent his most powerful blow at the incoming palm. Boom! The universe started trembling furiously at that instant, and Su Ming shuddered. His body fell back like a kite with its string snapped. He coughed up 7 consecutive mouthfuls of blood, and his body shattered. The legs that he had formed crumbled, his left arm disappeared, and only half his body remained. His presence became incredibly weak. When he fell back, a madness born due to unwillingness to admit defeat appeared in his eyes, but it could not stop his body from being pushed back. The disparity in strength between him and Xianxia was far too great. It was simply impossible for Su Ming to fight against him. At the instant his body stopped, the right hand from Xianxia came towards him again. The bald crane's shadow in the pearl pinched between Xianxia's fingers shone even more brilliantly than before. Give me the 7th reverse spirit, and you can leave. Xianxia's cold and dark voice echoed in the universe as the palm came to seize its target, but Su Ming's answer was his laughter and a fearless madness. He was going to execute possession. Even if his act of possessing Xianxia at that moment would just be like an egg being thrown at a rock, Su Ming knew that if he did not possess him right then, there was a high possibility that he would not have the chance to do it again. Even if their states of being were completely different and Su Ming's chances of success were slim to none, he had to try it if there was the smallest chance of success. Because only by doing so could he protect the bald crane. He absolutely would not just watch helplessly as the bald crane ended up the same as the people from 9th Summit. Su Ming knew that Xianxia only wanted the bald crane, and if he gave up on it to leave on his own, he would no longer have to face the life-threatening disaster. If he did that, he could just leave and go far away from Xianxia and live in the vast universe. In fact, he could search for another harmonious Morus Alba like Old Man Extermination and enter that butterfly to have more time to understand and gain an epiphany of boundless Tao's presence. He could even possess that harmonious Morus Alba with his current level of cultivation to become stronger. When it died, he could choose an offering, just like Old Man Extermination had done. Like that, he could continue living, constantly looking for another harmonious Morus Alba. Then, one day, when Su Ming completely stepped into boundless Tao, he could engage in a battle to the death against Xianxia. This was, logically speaking, the path Su Ming should choose. Only by doing so would his chances of success grow higher. But if the price for that decision was to give up on the bald crane, Su Ming would rather not take it. He could not give up on his friends. If he could turn his back on the bald crane to have a chance to resurrect everyone, then if he had to choose to give up on another life in the future, how would he choose? Su Ming would not choose that sort of life. Giving up, those two words had never appeared in Su Ming's life before, and they would absolutely not appear in the future either. I will absolutely not give up. Resolve showed up in Su Ming's eyes, but right then, in his storage bag, the bald crane erupted with an even crazier determination. Chapter 1377. The bald crane's choice. You don't want to give up on me, to leave me behind and live alone outside. Then how can I let you fight with all you have to win and lose the possibility of your future because of me? At that moment, a wave of madness from the soul itself erupted from Su Ming's storage. With a bang, the storage bag opened on its own, and the bald crane flew out from within. The sleazy look that was usually on its face could no longer be found, and neither was its obsession for crystals. Instead, its eyes were focused on Su Ming. There was reluctance to part in them, along with the fond memories of sharing thousands of years of friendship and companionship. I don't want to lose my memories again. I don't want to forget my home after I lose them, and neither do I want to forget my best friend. The bald crane sighed softly. When it flew out, a bloody mess of a carcass also flew out of its storage bag. The carcass was the bald crane's physical body. It had not wanted to fuse with it no matter what in the past, because it knew that once it fused with its physical body, it might forget all its new memories. It would no longer be the bald crane, but the unfamiliar Kong Mo. The bald crane would no longer have its personality, and it would truly be an unfamiliar entity, which was why it did not want to fuse with its body. It did not want to, right from the bottom of its heart, because it was satisfied with its new form and its new life. In fact, it could vaguely feel that it was the happiest since it had ever been. But right then, since Su Ming was ready to risk everything for it, the bald crane could do the same thing for him. It would fuse with its physical body so that Su Ming would not throw away his life in attempting possession at that moment. It would fuse with its body to fight against Xianxia so that Su Ming could have a chance to leave. Su Ming, this is my choice. The bald crane howled, and at the moment Su Ming looked over, it made its choice and fused with its physical body. If there comes a day when you remember me, and I still remember you, I will come find you. The physical body fused with the bald crane at that moment. As it squirmed, the bald crane let out a shrill scream of pain. Black feathers grew all over its body. Its aura instantly grew, and once it reached an astonishing degree, a 7-colored light instantly erupted from the bald crane. I like 7 colors. The bald crane threw its head back and roared shrilly. Its eyes instantly grew aloof, and its presence became cold. At that moment, it was no longer the bald crane. I am Kong Mo. The bald crane swiftly lifted its head and let out an astonishing roar. With what remained of the bald crane's will in its mind, it swiftly charged towards the incoming Xianxia's hand. Its eyes became red, and a crazed presence erupted from it with a bang. Its roars shook the universe, and it spoke in an aloof, ancient voice. I am not Kong Mo either. I am the 7th reversed spirit. Su Ming's eyes were also bloodshot. At that moment, he did not hesitate. His life began burning, and what burned was not just his body, but also his soul, his Tao divinity, and his will. With my burning will, I will reopen the gate in the universe once more. I will recreate a river, and it will be named the River of Forgetfulness. I will reform a world that will lead to another world's space. Su Ming swung his arm, and when his voice echoed in space, with his burning life, he lifted his right hand and pointed at the space behind him. The full power of Su Ming's will erupted at that moment, and a huge vortex showed up. It vortex rotated with a loud bang before revealing a world. The moment Su Ming activated the world that might or might not have any connection with the River of Forgetfulness he had severed, the bald crane's figure touched Xianxia's palm. Booming sounds instantly echoed in the universe. At the moment the palm paused, the bald crane let out a shrill scream of pain. Its body exploded with a bang. It fell backwards in a blood mess, but brilliant light exploded from the seventh pearl to form an astonishing suction force. It enveloped the bloody bald crane, intending to suck it over. Su Ming threw his head back, and the flames burning his body reached their peak. In an instant, he appeared beside the bald crane and grabbed it, helping it withstand the suction force. Even if it instantly made Su Ming feel as if his body was about to be torn, a large number of cracks appeared on his skin, and blood covered him head to toe. The pain only made the flames burning his body to become stronger. He used his body to fight the suction force in place of the bald crane with the knowledge that they would be separated forever and a hint of a reluctance to part. He showed no hesitation, however. He activated his full power and threw the bald crane into the other world he had activated. With his own body, he fought against the pearl's suction force, and with the flames burning his body, he released his strongest power to send his brother, his friend, the companion who had stayed by his side for thousands of years into the other world. The bald crane's eyes were unfocused at that moment, as if its memories had become jumbled up, as if it had remembered some of the past. There was a person in those memories, and he was smiling faintly at it. He extended a hand to it and brought it to multiple worlds over thousands of years. What is that person's name? I forgot. I can't remember, even if his face is no longer clear. And, who am I? The bald crane's eyes gradually fell shut. Under the power brought forth by Su Ming burning everything of his life, he threw it into the vortex and sent it into the other world. If there comes a day when you remember me and I remember you, I will come find you. Su Ming watched the bald crane fall into the distance, watched it disappear into the vortex, watched the vortex vanish, and a smile appeared on his face. A black feather left the vortex before it disappeared. It floated towards Su Ming, landing right on his palm. Ha! You again? Damit. Igregeregaju. Why must you always follow me? Heh, let me tell you, your grandpa crane is very powerful. Oh well, I won't make things hard for you. Well, why aren't you leaving yet? Can't you sense this powerful presence coming from me? Crystals. Darn it all, I'll do whatever it takes. So many crystals. I'll do it. I'll do it. Su Ming, you damned fool. You can't die here, you coward, you bastard. If you really want to die, then I will die with you. Su Ming. I want to cry. Su Ming clenched his fist and held the feather tightly in his palm. His body was tumbling backwards swiftly due to the suction force at that moment, heading towards the huge hand. His body started cracking more. It gradually turned into a mess, but resolve appeared in Su Ming's eyes, along with a madness that spoke of his lack of fear for the universe. At the instant he approached the palm, even if his body was about to break down, he forced himself to turn around. At the instant he got infinitesimally close to the palm, the determination to continue living appeared in his eyes. Abyss Builder. Possession. Boom. Su Ming's body shattered completely. As his flesh and blood flew everywhere, the huge palm clenched all signs of his being in its fist. Then, when the palm vanished, the black-robed young man sitting on the feng shui compass lowered his hand with a numb expression. It was as if he had seen the bald crane leaving, but he showed no signs of any change in emotion. It was as if there was never any emotion in him. Since the seventh reverse spirit was no longer around, then it shall be so. He gradually lowered his head and slowly shut his eyes as if falling into a deep sleep. He simply allowed the feng shui compass to drift about in the vast universe without any destination in mind. By the time he fell asleep, he had no notice that when he pulled his right hand back, a black feather had appeared in his palm. His act of holding the feather was exactly the same as Su Ming's action of holding onto his determination. End of Arc 6. Chapter 1378. Beyond the mountains are more mountains, and beyond the towers are more towers. Arc 7. How many cycles of life and death has one person missing? Beyond the mountains are more mountains, and beyond the towers are more towers. Water is water, and beyond the sky is more sky. The sky was blue. A sea full of white clouds decorated the sky. If anyone looked over, it would seem as if the sky had turned into a beautiful picture. If the wind blew, the clouds would be drifting into the distance, so the picture would not be still, but form a world. Su Ming stared at the sky blankly. He had woken up a month ago. During it, he might have accepted the reality around him, but he could still not understand where he was. His memories ended at the moment he attempted to possess Xianxia. Due to the difference in their states of being, the chances of success had been slim to none, but at the moment Su Ming performed his possession, he had burned his life and soul to the peak, which was why it was not impossible for him to succeed. However, if he succeeded, why was he not Xianxia? And if he failed, where was he right then? Su Ming lowered his head to stare at his body, then fell silent. "Xian'er, you're daydreaming again." A stern voice came from nearby. The speaker was an old man with a head full of white hair and an awe-inspiring face. He was dressed in a grey long robe and wore a straw hat. While holding a wooden staff, he was looking at Su Ming. "Master." Su Ming stared at the old man before him. He might have woken up a month ago, but every single time he saw this person, his heart would tremble, and he would wonder whether everything before him was real. The old man was Xianxia. He looked exactly the same, and even his intonation was just like in Su Ming's memories. He could not tell whether it was the past or the present. "It's only been a month. You have to remember that there is a total of 6,000 years, 100 cycles of 60 years. There will be 10 cycles for you to cross mountains, rivers, and plains with me. You will watch multiple sunrises and sunsets with me and gain an epiphany of the changes regarding the 4 seasons. You will learn of the principles of the world to search for the truth and the innate kindness of a person. And then, you will have to wander around on your own for 90 cycles of 60 years. Only by doing so will you have the right to contend against your eldest and second brother, and only then will you have the chance to become a future ruler. And I will not have let down your father," the old man said faintly. He struck the ground with the staff in hand, then turned around and continued onward. "Follow me." His voice was ancient, and it echoed on the hill. It seemed to fuse with the breeze around them before drifting to the sky, gradually turning into the darkening clouds up ahead, then finally transforming into snow. It was winter. Su Ming followed behind the old man quietly. He crossed the hill and walked past a lake that was not frozen. In the distance, the setting sun shone on the land with its last rays of light, casting Su Ming's reflection on the lake. He was a teenager with a handsome face. He was dressed in a grey long robe and wore a straw hat, but there was an expression of someone who was lost on his face. He was the 3rd prince of ancient Zong, and he had 2 older brothers. There was a tradition in ancient Zong that before the emperor handed over his crown, all his sons had to travel and experience the world for 6,000 years with the cultivators their father had personally assigned to them. After the 100 cycles of 60 years, the princes would return, and a fight for the throne would commence. Only one prince was destined to live through it, and the blood of those who died would be cast into his crown. Then he would become the ruler of the kingdom. And that kingdom was named Ancient Zong. It was the ruler of the entire land and a supreme entity in the entire world. It stood above all cultivators and all sects. This was the additional memory that had appeared in Su Ming's mind besides the ones he originally possessed. At some unknown point in time, it had been branded into the depths of his soul as if it had always belonged to him. However, he could not remember his eldest brother's name nor his second brother's face. The strongest feeling he had was that he had to follow the old man before him for 10 cycles of 60 years. "Drink." The old man stopped and turned his head around to cast a glance at Su Ming while pointing at the lake. "When the water in a lake does not move, it will reflect the sky. Drink this water, and you will feel as if you have swallowed a corner of the sky. This lake will be named Sky Lake." As the old man spoke, he bent his back and extended his hand to scoop up a handful of the water in the lake. He brought it to his lips and drank it. In silence, Su Ming shifted his gaze to the lake. He did not bend his back, however. The old man lifted his head and looked at Su Ming. "Why should I drink this water? Even if it reflects the sky, and even if I feel as if I've swallowed a corner of the sky after I drank its water, I'll just be lying to myself." Su Ming shook his head and said languidly. "Lift your head and look into the sky in the distance," the old man said calmly. Su Ming lifted his head. At the instant he saw the sky, he narrowed his eyes. He saw that there was a small region in the distant sky that seemed to have been devoured. "I don't know the lake's original name, but since I passed by it and said that it is the sky, then it is the sky. When I drink the water in the lake and say that I've swallowed a corner of the sky, then I will have swallowed a corner of the sky. If you're hung up on this, then you will be governed by karma," the old man said faintly. Su Ming fell silent. After a long while, he suddenly laughed. Why should he care about karma? Why should he care about where he was? Why should he seek an answer? As long as he continued walking forward, it was enough. Your disciple has learned his lesson. Su Ming wrapped his fist in his palm. Once he bent his back, he crouched down, brought his right hand up, and placed it in the water, but he did not scoop up the water. Instead, a dark glint shone in his eyes, and he gently patted the surface of the lake. At the instant he did so, the water in the lake roared and tumbled about. Endless ripples spread out, causing the sky that was originally reflected on the surface to immediately shatter and disappear from view. Why did you do this? The old man frowned. Master, you say that it's the sky, and once you drink it, you would have swallowed the sky. I say that it's not the sky, hence I don't need to drink it. Su Ming stood up and looked at the old man. You have quite the ambition. A hint of praise that disappeared as soon as it showed up appeared in the old man's eyes, but soon, his gaze grew fierce, and the tone of his voice changed. But your logic doesn't work, and you're a little too conceited. When I say that the lake is the sky, it's because I gained the feeling of looking at the sky when I looked at the lake. That is why I went along with the will of heaven and said those words, and which is why I could swallow the sky, because that is what the will of heaven has depicted, and I just went along with it. But you disturbed the lake as if you've disturbed destiny. Before long though, the lake will return to normal, and it will reflect the sky. To it, you are just a passerby. You are complacent. You laugh at the water, disturbing it, but the lake is also laughing at you. If you don't believe me, then look at the lake when it is calm. You laugh at the calm water, but can you not see your own reflection? It is laughing at you, the old man said calmly. His words were uttered slowly, and they seemed to contain doubt. I don't believe in destiny. Su Ming did not turn his head back, but vapor rose from the lake the moment it was about to become calm once again. The vapor instantly turned into fog. It covered the surface of the lake, and after the span of around 10 breaths, Su Ming swung his arm at the lake with his back still turned towards it. Wind immediately blew across the area. Once it sent the fog away, there was nothing left of the lake. It had disappeared without a trace. Only the ugly mud in a deep pit could be seen. There were also countless fish, prawns, and all sorts of lives in it. Now, it is completely gone, Su Ming said faintly. The old man was silent. He cast a profound glance at Su Ming, then shook his head. The blood of the royal family in ancient Zong is the strongest in the universe. This rumor is indeed real. Let's go. We still have a long way ahead of us. The old man turned around and no longer looked at the lake. He continued onward. Su Ming lowered his head and did not look back at the lake. He followed the old man and continued onward. To Su Ming, be it the goal or the end, they were not important on the journey. It was a path to search for Tao, a path through which he could make himself stronger. He walked past mountains, rivers, 4 seasons, and past 10 years. The old man walked in front, and Su Ming followed behind. 10 years ago, the reflections of Su Ming on the lakes showed a teenager. As of then, he was already a young man. His strides had become larger, and the expression of someone who did not know where he was headed could no longer be found on his face either. The calm expression from when he was in harmonious Morris Alba was back. Stars glimmered in the night sky while bonfires burned on the ground. Su Ming sat beside one of them, and across him was the old Xianxia. After 10 years came another blizzard. The two of them sat cross-legged and sensed the cold behind them as well as the hot wave crashing into their faces. The old man had his eyes closed as if he immersed in his own training. He did not care about the changes around him. Su Ming lifted his head and stared at the blurry moon in the sky behind the snow above him. It looked like falling dust. This moon was constantly around, but the people he knew were not. Su Ming thought of the past quietly and went through his memories. While immersed in them, he entered the world that belonged to him and searched for the sighing ferryman. How many famous sects and clans are there in ancient Zong? The old man, who still had his eyes shut, asked in an ancient voice. It mixed with the wind and snow, fused into the crackles of the burning bonfire before reaching Su Ming's ears. 7 sects, 12 clans. Su Ming still stared at the blurry moon when he answered calmly. What are the differences between sects and clans? The old man asked again. Sects extend to the endless space, and they are given their status by ancient Zong. Clans come from the emptiness of space, and they don't receive enlightenment from anything else. What will happen every single time the throne is handed to a new ruler? The old man continued asking. The 7 sects will cause a stir, and the 12 clans will descend into chaos. When the princes fight for the crown, the world changes. Su Ming moved his gaze away from the blurry moon in the sky and watched the bonfire burn while he answered calmly. I've told you about the limits of the level of cultivation in this endless world 10 years ago. Do you still remember it? The old man asked flatly. When you attain great completion in Avacania realm, you can gain an epiphany of boundless Tao realm. Once you obtain your Tao divinity and gain an epiphany of this realm 9 times, it will mean that you have advanced your Tao divinity by 9 levels. 9 is the limit, and once you achieve completion, you can reach a breakthrough and step into boundless Tao realm. There has never been a person who has reached boundless Tao realm before, which is why there are people who understand Tao, but do not understand what boundless means, Su Ming answered calmly. He had come to understand all these things during the 10 years through the bits and pieces the old man had told him. Chapter 1379. Water is water, and beyond the sky is more sky. 9 levels of Tao divinity. With 3, you will reach Tao divinity realm. With 6, you will reach Tao immortal realm. With 8, you will reach the peak and you can be known as a great Tao paragon. When you reach 9, only then can you be known as a Tao divinity. There are only 3 Tao divinities in the world, and they have been eternal existences since ancient times. These 3 people have never perished, and the 4th has never appeared either. So, naturally, someone who has truly reached boundless Tao realm has never appeared before as well. The old man stared at Su Ming, and his voice lingered for a long time in the blizzard, refusing to disappear. Never? Su Ming suddenly asked. There has. The old man suddenly smiled, and there was a hint of old age on his face, as if he had almost reached the end of his life, but when Su Ming stared at him again at the next breath, he looked as if life had just begun for him. He did not continue with this topic, but stared at Su Ming, and pride gradually showed up in his eyes. You can now go out and experience the world on your own. You have to change your appearance so you are no longer Xian. You should have another name and join a sect. No one must know that you are a prince, and 6,000 years later. Remember, to return to ancient Zong, and I will wait for you outside the city gates at that time. At the moment you step inside the city gate, I will teach you your final lesson. The old man smiled faintly and stood up. He cast Su Ming a deep glance, then turned around with a smile to walk into the blizzard. Su Ming watched the old man leave into the distance, and when his figure became indistinct, he asked softly, Master, what is your name in this life? You already have the answer in your heart. The old man's voice came from the blizzard, lingering in the wind and refusing to leave. The answer had already appeared in his head at the very first moment Su Ming had laid eyes on the old man when he had woken up 10 years ago. Xianxia. No matter who he was in that life and that world, in Su Ming's heart, the old man was Xianxia, the man whose fate was entangled with Miesheng due to his interference and because his 9th change of heart had been disrupted. The 2 of them were connected even until harmonious Morus Alba was destroyed. While in the 4th expanse cosmos, Su Ming had seen Xianxia choose to kill himself while laughing shrilly. He did not see Xianxia, and neither did he sense Xianxia's presence. Right then. Su Ming understood, but when he thought about it in detail, he felt as if he could not understand it. Whether or not he understood was not important, however. What was important was that his path was under his feet, and he had to continue treading down it until there came a day when he came to an understanding of all the steps in the process. When he turned his head around, he would be able to see the beauty of pursuing the truth. Su Ming smiled. He stared at the flames and felt as if he could see the harmonious Morus Alba in the fire. He saw various scenes, faces, and the fleeting moments that remained in his memories. Whether or not this world is true or just an illusion, Master has given me the answer 10 years ago. Su Ming said softly, and in his smile was understanding. And I've also given him the answer. Su Ming closed his eyes. He sat in the blizzard, next to the bonfire. The snow was like dust connecting the sky and earth. It was connected to Su Ming's heart, and when his heart turned deadly still, Su Ming closed his eyes to hide his determined resolve to pursue the truth. This is a possession. Shenzong. I will accompany you. I will take a look at the light shining in your eyes at the final moment you open them. I will know whether it belongs to the death of your harmonious Morris Alba, or whether it belongs to my resolve and madness. Su Ming's eyes flew open at that instant, and the snow in the area became still. The wind stopped blowing, and the snow stopped falling. Su Ming was no longer as handsome as he was 10 years ago. His hair had grown longer and gradually covered his shoulders, then reached his waist. Its color was no longer black, but had instead been dyed in Su Ming's blood, turning into purple with a tint of crimson. His hair was purple, and his robe was white. His appearance was no longer youthful, but had a hint of ancientness. His body was no longer lanky, but lean and slender. At that instant, Su Ming changed back to his appearance in harmonious Morris Alba. He had returned. At the moment he opened his eyes, the third eye slowly opened at the center of his brow. It caused the world to shudder with a bang, because when he opened his third eye, his Tao divinity also woke up. My wills, are you still there? When Su Ming murmured those words, he lifted his right hand. At the moment he focused his gaze, it was as if thousands of years had gone by. When the palm lines of his right hand turned into purple flames, they burned, and the snow in the area turned into fog. It filled the area and made it indistinct to the eye. In the flames on his palm, Su Ming saw the true morning Tao world, the Emperor of Abyss true world, true immortal sect world, and true Sky Hill world. The 4 great true worlds were born from the flames in Su Ming's hands at that moment. Perhaps they had been destroyed in the past, but right then, they appeared once more. However, a strange dark light slowly appeared in Su Ming's eye. It held a hint of determination. Su Ming sensed the wills of the 4 great true worlds on his palm, but they only existed in the fire. They could not appear outside it, and Su Ming could not have them fuse with his soul, like he had done in harmonious Morris Alba. After all, harmonious Morris Alba was already dead. But why can I still sense your dissatisfaction? Why can I sense all of you calling to me? Why can I sense the signs of your existence in this world? The light in Su Ming's eyes grew stronger. Once he stood up slowly, he brought his right hand up and pushed the flames at the center of his brow. During that moment, his whole body shuddered. Blurry pictures immediately appeared in his third eye. They flashed past until he saw all of them clearly. A butterfly was struggling as if it was unwilling to give up. It did not have a body. Su Ming could only see its soul, and it was harmonious Morris Alba's soul. The harmonious Morris Alba's soul gave Su Ming a familiar feeling. In fact, he could even see a torn gap on its wing. That harmonious Morris Alba was Su Ming's homeland. The thing that sealed its soul was the void. It seemed to be endless, but in truth, the void was just a pearl shining with a strange light. There were clouds surrounding the pearl, and it contained a universe that sealed the harmonious Morris Alba. The pearl itself was floating in a huge palace. The light shining from it filled up the entire place. The palace was built on top of mountains. By its side were numerous other palaces. There was no end to them. Iron chains connected the mountains as bridges, and if anyone looked from a distance, they would find that the mountains formed an incredibly huge rune. Once the rune as well as the mountains shrank indefinitely in Su Ming's eyes, they turned into palm lines. When the palm furled into a fist, Su Ming saw the owner of the palm. He was a middle-aged man, who was dressed in a long red robe, sitting and meditating. There were thousands of cultivators kneeling down and worshipping him below. They were listening to his breathing while he meditated as if they could gain an epiphany of Tao just from that. All of them were in a huge field. Beyond it was a huge basin surrounded by mountains. There were countless cultivators in that basin, and when Su Ming saw the basin shrink, a huge stone monument that reached the sky erected on a cliff to the east of the basin came into his view. Carved into the stone monument were 8 words 7 moons sect, sky beyond the sky. At the instant Su Ming saw the 8 words clearly, they distorted and turned into an eye. It swiftly looked through space as if it could see Su Ming's gaze. At the same time, the red-robed man sitting on the field opened his eyes. How preposterous! he said with a cold harumph. When he spoke, an aura that even Su Ming felt was incredibly strong shot through space and crashed in a domineering manner against Su Ming's gaze. At the same time, an overlapping shadow walked out of the red-robed man's body. It moved and turned into his clone. It stepped into the air, and with the divine sense Su Ming had used to observe as a clue, it instantly charged toward Su Ming. As a soundless rumble reverberated through the air, Su Ming's third eye fell shut. His body shuddered slightly. He took a few steps backwards, and a trickle of blood flowed down the corners of his mouth. He lifted his head swiftly and stared at the sky. The moment Su Ming closed his third eye, the red-robed man's image appeared in the sky far away from Su Ming. The middle-aged man could not find Su Ming's tracks. He swept his gaze past the land, but he did not find his target. He's an alert one at least. This one has extraordinary power. He's already at the first level of Tao Divinity Realm. The red-robed man moved his gaze away from the ground. He was in deep thought for a while before he turned around and stepped into the air to disappear into the sky. Third level of Tao Divinity Realm, Tao Spirit Realm. Su Ming stared at the sky. He could sense the strength and mighty pressure from the red-robed man he approached in Seven Moons sect. His mighty pressure surpassed what was possessed by all the living beings Su Ming had ever met, except Xianxia. This is a world that is even stronger and bigger than the harmonious Morus Alba I was in. Brilliant light abruptly began shining in Su Ming's eyes, because harmonious Morus Alba had only attained great completion in Avicania realm, which was why, in terms of level of cultivation, all the people in its world could not surpass this realm. Only in its last eon could a life form that could break this limit appear, such as Su Ming, who had gained his Tao divinity after he obtained his epiphany of boundless Tao realm. This world he was in right then clearly surpassed the universe of harmonious Morus Alba, which was why powerful warriors of whom Su Ming had to be wary appeared. Yet it was precisely because of this that Su Ming might be able to find the path to become stronger. He was silent. After a long while, a glint appeared in his eyes. I must come to repossess my wills. This is clearly the difference between me and the cultivators in this place. Su Ming's eyes sparkled. As he mumbled, he turned into a long arc that charged into the distant sky. Right now, my most important task is to join Seven Moons sect. Chapter 1380. In your dreams, you don't know that you've grown old when you learn who you are no longer you. When you no longer know who you are, you will be you. Murmurs reached Su Ming's ears and echoed in his head. When the sentence turned into a loud bang and roared in his heart, Su Ming opened his eyes. Sweat had appeared at some unknown point of time on his forehead. The sky outside was silver, and it was because of falling snow. The land, dressed in a silver cloak, reflected a light that did not belong to the darkness of night. Su Ming sat in a stone cave naturally formed due to a crack in the mountain. It was a place he had come upon while charging to Seven Moons sect for 3 months. In the seemingly endless land, he had sat down cross-legged and began regulating his breathing. He was incredibly far away from Seven Moons sect. Even if he had reached the first level of Tao divinity, he still needed several years to reach it. Because of that, he did not choose to continue on without stop, but would occasionally rest so that he would constantly be at the peak of his form. Right then, he opened his eyes. He stared at the night sky beyond the cave and remembered the dream he just had. He seldom had dreams, for they would not appear when he meditated, but he had just had a dream. Su Ming was only familiar with one sentence in the dream. The words from it echoed in his mind, and even when he opened his eyes, they lingered in his ears and refused to leave. In silence, Su Ming stood up and walked out of the stone cave. Under the snow and amid the wind, he left behind a trail of footprints while walking into the distance. He crossed mountains and frozen rivers. The sun rose while he walked, and when it set, a city showed up ahead of him. In the dusk, the city shone with light all over the place. There were voices coming and going, which filled it with activity. Su Ming watched at the city, then closed his eyes. After a moment, when he opened them, he walked towards the city. The families there had huge red lanterns hanging from their houses. Many children played, and their laughter was like tinkling bells. Almost every person was smiling, and their joyful faces filled the city. It made Su Ming remember, his master bringing him to an unfamiliar city every single year on that day to sense the atmosphere of a new year. It was the last day of a year. Once dusk was over, night would fall, and when the sun rose again, another year would start. Every year, all of ancient Zong would celebrate it. All the cities in the land would be filled with a joyous atmosphere. Families would hang lamps high on their houses, and light would shine from them in the wind and snow as if it could chase away the cold from each house so that the night would no longer be cold. Su Ming walked through the city and observed his surroundings. He gradually lowered his head, and when he walked into the corner of an alley, he saw a noodle stall. In the cold wind, steam rose into the air, hiding the old man who was cooking noodles. He was indistinct to the passers-by. The noodle stall was not huge. There were only 4 or 5 tables, and a screen like that of a tent flap covered it so that the stall could hide from the snow, but the screen could not block much of the wind. There were about 3 men sitting inside and eating hot, steaming noodles while drinking soup as if trying to chase away the chill in their bodies. Old Man Wu, it's New Year now, bring out some of the old wine you've been treasuring. Let us have a taste of it, one of the men eating noodles said with a smile. When he spoke, his breath formed white vapor, and it was incredibly distinct in the blizzard. You lot. Oh, fine. The old man cooking noodles seemed to have smiled. He turned around and brought out a pot of wine before placing it on the table. That's the spirit. At least our efforts of coming here today to keep you company were not wasted. The man smiled, then immediately picked up the pot of wine and took a big gulp from it. Su Ming walked into the noodle stall at that moment and sat at a table in the corner while watching the snow outside. Owner, 1 bowl of noodles, please. The old cook turned his head around and cast a glance at Su Ming, then picked up a bowl and scooped up a huge portion of noodles. He also added some meat in the bowl before he placed it in front of Su Ming. Su Ming stared at the noodles on the table, then started eating them quietly. The taste of the noodles was quite good, and the soup was hot. Once it entered his mouth, it filled it with warmth that even the snow no longer felt cold. Time gradually passed. When night fell, not many people could be seen on the streets. It was festival time and also a day for families to reunite. At such a moment, a family would be together. The adults would watch children play, the lamps shine, and in the warmth of their homes, they would experience the tenderness of familial love. Compared to the snow outside, practically everyone had that warmth so they did not have to suffer the cold, but Su Ming, he did not have that warmth. When the men in the noodle stall left, the moaning wind caused the tent flap to let out loud fluttering sounds, and Su Ming sighed softly. Why aren't you going home? The old cook sat at a nearby table. He picked up the pot of old wine, warmed it up for a while, then took a swig from it and looked at Su Ming. Su Ming was silent for a while before he spoke slowly. I can't find the way home. It's not that you can't find the way, but you don't have a home, right? The old man smiled. He picked up another pot of wine and stood up to walk over. Once he sat down, he placed it in front of Su Ming. With the help of the light from the lamp, Su Ming lifted his head and looked at the old man. He was a mortal who had already reached the end of his life and had a face full of wrinkles. Su Ming picked up the pot of wine. Once he took a sip from it, he watched the snow outside and asked languidly, What about you? I have a home, but I'm the only one in it. It doesn't matter whether I go back or not. I would rather be here. The old man smiled. When he did so, the wrinkles on his face seemed to have increased, making the smile look full of anguish. Su Ming did not speak. He drank, and in the wind and falling snow, the bright moon appeared in the sky. There were lamps on the thousands of houses around him, and there was also a lamp in the noodle stall, but that lamp was not warm. Instead, there was a desolate air about it. He felt his thoughts shift. He thought that he had already buried the yearning he would feel at that moment every single year and the beautiful moments from the past. He thought he no longer felt pain because he was heartless, but right then, under the shadows cast by the light from the lamp, he felt a pain that wind could not blow away and snow could not bury. In the pain and cold, Su Ming remembered his senior brothers from the 9th summit, Yu Xian, Kang Lan, Shu Hui, the bald crane, and that one single face in his memories. As he thought about them, he finished the pot of wine. He drank wine, because he no longer had any tears left. He could only pretend that the wine was his tears. Once he drank it, It became a bitterness and anguish that he could never chase away from his heart. If that was the case, he might as well let that bitterness remain in him for all eternity, and might as well let the anguish stay with him forever, because only by doing so will he know that he was still alive. Only then would he know that he was not dead yet. Only then would he have more determination to change everything. Even if it was practically impossible, Su Ming still wanted to make it possible. "Where is your family?" The old man watched Su Ming. When he spoke in his hoarse voice, he picked up another pot of wine and placed it in front of Su Ming. "They're very far away. What about you?" Su Ming shook his head. "My family? Heh. I originally had a huge family. I had a grandson, and he had a bunch of people to keep him company, and they were all my family. He even found a few wives, and the house was very lively." The old man drank wine, and his eyes filled with nostalgia. "But one day, when I woke up, he was gone. We could no longer find him, and the house that was bustling with activity was no longer lively. Everyone went out to search for him, and they left one after another. They went to many places, but they never managed to find him. I am the only one left in this place. The house is empty. I don't know where he went to, and neither did I go out to find him. I want to stay here. I light a lamp in the house and wait for him. If he comes back one day, I don't want him to be unable to find his home. I don't want him to be unable to see the lamp in the house guiding his way," the old man mumbled. His voice was hoarse, and a hint of ancientness seemed to have been added to the snow. "But honestly, I'm not really alone. Compared to me, our emperor is the one who is lonely." The old man sighed softly. He picked up a pot of wine and drank from it again. "We know that the emperor has 3 sons. When they will come of age, they will be taken away by someone to wander about the world, and when they will leave for 6,000 years. During those 6,000 years, he will be alone. He will have to light a lamp in the capital as well to lead the princes back home, because there is a legend in our kingdom saying that each prince has a possibility of losing their way while they are out wandering. They may no longer remember the way home." As the old man spoke, he lowered his head as if he had become drunk. Su Ming was silent. He finished the final mouthful of wine from his pot, then stood up to walk past the old man. With a swing of his right hand, the snow and wind around him avoided him, making the place warm. Then, he walked out of the noodle stall and into the blizzard. He left the city and joined the wind of the night, going in the direction of 7 Moons Sect. When Su Ming left into the distance and his figure disappeared into the night sky beyond the city, the seemingly drunk old man slowly lifted his head and stood up to stare at the night sky. His appearance slowly changed as if time was changing, and he turned into a middle-aged man. He sighed softly. "When you learn who you are no longer you. When you no longer know who you will be you." As he sighed softly, the entire city turned into an illusion. Only the middle-aged man was left standing alone in the snow and wind. As he sighed softly, he turned around and walked quietly towards the capital city of ancient Zong. What is real, and what is fake? Xianxia, 3,000 years have passed. When will you ever gain your epiphany? You seek the truth, but what is the truth? You believe that certain things are fake, but what is meant by falsehood? The middle-aged man murmured. With pain in his heart, he gradually disappeared into the snow and his figure slowly faded away. Only the snow remained drifting about in the air. There seemed to be a sigh contained in it, lingering for a long time in the world.